Is it good? All right. Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. Woo! Had a technical difficulty here, and that's why we're running behind. Sorry about that. But welcome back, everybody. Hello. Hope everyone's doing well. I do understand that we've lost some more brothers, and there's going to be a gathering for Joe this Friday. And may or may not be in attendance. I'm going to leave it at that. I may or may not be in attendance. If I do show up, it's going to be just to speak to the family. So yeah. But I hope everyone else is doing great. Went for a little ride myself today, up to Bernie and back. Nice little trip. Wasn't too bad. Thought about rolling around San Antonio, but then I was like, no. All the construction and all the garbage going on around here. I was not all about that noise. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it since I'm running late. And I got my miniature notes because for some reason it couldn't print it normally. So if I do this number right here, it's not because I'm old, it's because the words are small. So remember, so what do they call it? Safe zone. Yeah, hey, safe zone. Okay, no criticism. What is it that they call it in college? Safe zones, right? Or something like that? Yeah, safe zones. That's what we're calling it here, all right? It's a safe space where everybody can feel loved and not offended. No, it's not. This house is definitely not about sparing offense. All right, let's go ahead and pray. Hello, Father. Woo! Thank you so much for helping me with our technical issues to get this message ready to be delivered to all those to whom it's meant to receive. Father, please let it be your word and your word only that is spoken and received. Let it not be of me, for it is all about your honor and your glory. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, so last week we were in Genesis 17 when I should have been doing 16. The very next day, Thursday last week, I did post an impromptu video of chapter 16, fully dedicated to 16. It should still be up on the videos list here on Facebook. Again, once the 30 days expires, then they just delete it, except for like a handful of videos that were, I guess, grandfathered in before that policy change. So if you didn't get to watch it, it's on there. So that way you're caught up. The stories that we're going to cover tonight it's not going to be necessary to know about chapter 16, Hagar and Ishmael, in order to be tracking what's going on with this story. I'm not going to say they're not connected, because obviously they are. Okay, but it's one that you're not going to miss out on anything if you didn't see that video from what we're covering today. So we're covering Genesis 18 and 19 today. I wanted to do a little bit more, but like before, I started gathering my notes, I started doing my prep, realized I am going to go well over an hour if I include everything, so I cut it short just a little bit, and I left out the last part of 19 where it starts with the story of Lot and his daughters. I did not want to give you just a brief rundown because the incident that happens here with Lot and his daughters is going to actually have a lasting impact into what we see, into what we learn about in Genesis. So I didn't want to just breeze over it, but on chapter 19, we're stopping just short of there. That story starts at verse 30, so we're going to be stopping at verse 29. Once again, because we have these significant chapters to cover, I'm not going to read throughout the whole chapter. I'm going to read the verses we're going to cover, and then we're going to break those verses down. All right? So we're going to start with chapter 18 at verse 1, and we'll go through verse 5, break it down, and continue on. The three visitors. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mirmar, while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground. He said, "If I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, do not pass your servant by. Let a little water be brought, and then you may all wash your feet and rest under the tree. Let me get you something to eat so you can be refreshed and then go on your way, now that you have come to your servant." "Very well," they answered. "Do as you say." All right, so that's verses 1 through 5. Remember, we're not making fun of me for this. All right, so along with all the main events that we've covered so far, we're going to see in these stories the 2 ways the word Lord is used. Now, if you're like me, when you first went through the Bible and you started seeing, but Lord this, Lord that, and my Lord this, and Lord this, you probably got mixed up in all the Lords, okay? And even more so when you got mixed up in the Lords, you probably didn't realize that one had an uppercase capital letter with lowercase capital letters, and the others were just strictly lowercased. You probably missed that, and it's okay. Don't beat yourself up, all right? I'll do that for you later. But that is what I noticed after my second pass. It's like, wait a second. These different lords, they're referencing different people. They're not talking to the same individual. So we're going to talk about that a little bit before we get any deeper into this story. In this story, we're also going to see this very old, very ancient, and still alive today method of Middle Eastern hospitality. A lot of my veterans who've been to Iraq and Afghanistan, you got some experience. Even those who've been in other countries there in the Middle East, you have some experience with this very nice, unusually nice level of hospitality that is practiced. So we're going to see a lot of that in this story. So for the 2 uses of the word Lord, like I said, if you look at the verses carefully, the story begins with the Lord appeared to Abraham. Notice that the L is capitalized and the other O-R-D is still in capitalized form but in a smaller font than the L. This is how you know it's referencing God. However, when you see just a regular lowercase Lord, this was like saying sir. This was like saying sir back in the day. All right, and it's lowercase. So pay close attention as we continue throughout this story, because you're gonna see the differences in the lords and who these are going to be referencing different people or using it in a different context. But typically, Lord did make reference to God as well as it being a formal use title like Sir. In our previous chapters, when we read about Lot's wife Sarah, we read a section where it said even she referred to her husband as Lord, aka Sir. All right, that was just the level of formality and tradition back then, and wouldn't it be nice to go back to that. That wasn't meant to be a thing towards women, by the way. Just the respect, okay? Just the respect. I just realized that could be taken wrong. All right, so these are the 2 different ways that the word Lord is going to be used. All right. Now, the hospitality here, the hospitality that is practiced in Middle Eastern countries is second to none. Even if you are their known enemy and they take you under their roof, they will protect you with their lives. I have, I guess you could say, the privilege of having such experiences. There were times where we knew that the guy who was inviting us into his house, to have what we called an elders meeting, We just knew that the people in that house were the same people that just tried to kill us the day before. But because of their custom, because of this custom of hospitality, in that moment, though we are their enemy, they are still going to, if they had to at the time, protect us with their lives. Because that's what the culture of their, that's what hospitality in their culture mandated. Also, in my experiences with this level of hospitality, if you are there, you are fed. It doesn't matter what little food the homeowner has. What they have, they give to the guests, even at the risk of their own families, their own children going on that night without food. We would call it here in the West extreme. Okay? But to them, no, this is standard practice. Like once upon a time for us, it used to be standard practice to hold the door open for a woman, to pull the chair out, to stand when a woman left the table. Everybody would stand. Children would ask to be excused from the table. They wouldn't just get up and go. You know, so this is just a time-old practice that they have had in place for so long. Let's get into verses 6 through 10. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. "Quick," he said, "get 3 seahs of the finest flour and knead it and bake some bread." Then he ran to the herd and selected a choice, tender calf and gave it to a servant, who hurried to prepare it. He then brought some curds and milk and the calf that had been prepared, and set these before them. While they ate, he stood near them under a tree. "Where is your wife Sarah?" they asked. "There in the tent," he said, Abraham. When one of them said, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Now Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent, which was behind him. All right, so pause right there. So here Abraham is realizing from what this one person of these 3, they're not just ordinary visitors. There is something significantly different about these. All right. When we hear, just as Jesus tells us in the New Testament, when we hear the Lord's voice, we recognize it. When I call my sheep, they hear me because they recognize my voice. That's very much what's happening right here. He's starting to hear this. It's like, wait a second. No, these aren't just travelers. They're starting to build up on what's going on. And here we also see that Sarah listening in while she was behind the tent. So we're gonna get into this as well. Verses 11 through 15. Keep losing my place. Abraham and Sarah were already very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. Remember, Sarah right now is, I believe, roughly in her 90s, up to maybe 93. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, "After I am worn out and my Lord is old," notice the lowercase form of the Lord. She's referring to Abraham here. "After I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure?" Then the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Will I really have a child now that I am old?' Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah was afraid, so she lied and said, I did not laugh. But he said, yes, you did laugh. All right, so he caught it, giving more evidence that this isn't just a regular traveler. Now, if you recall in our previous lessons, Abraham too also laughed when God told him that even in his old age he would bear a son. Even Abraham laughed. And I recall when I read these stories for the first time, I was thinking, okay, wait a second. Abraham laughed and he didn't get any grief for it. But Sarah laughs and she gets a little kickback from there. Why is that? Well, it turns out it comes down to the heart posture. When Abraham laughed, it wasn't a laugh of disbelief. It was a laugh of marvel. All right, we've had those moments where we had laughs of marvel, and we have laughs of disbeliefs. Get out of here! That didn't really happen. Stuff like that. And that's what Sarah did. Sarah laughed with doubt. And if you didn't know, Isaac, the son that they will have, his name literally means laughter. Remember what I told you? Names have meaning. All the names have meaning here. All right, so it all comes down to the heart postures. For those of you who are in the world of apologetics, this is one of the things that people say to use in the negative, to say something negative about God, about him being unfair. Even some naysayers will go as far as saying he's sexist, he hates women. No. See, it's about the heart posture. What we cannot see in these words is Sarah's heart posture. Just like right now, you can't see my heart posture watching me on your phone or whatever. We can't see him, but the Lord can. So please don't mistake it when the Lord says something like, why did she laugh? Is this supposed to be too hard for me? Don't think of it as him being rude. No, he sees something we don't. I mean, go figure, he kind of created everything. All right, so verses 16 through 19. This is the story of Abraham pleads for Sodom. When the men got up to leave, they looked down toward Sodom, and Abraham walked along with them to see them on their way. Then the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and all nations on earth will be blessed through him. For I have chosen him, so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord, by doing what is right and just, so that the Lord will bring about for Abraham what he has promised him. All right, so pause right there. All right, so now there's no doubt as to who this individual is. There's three present, but one of them has been the spokesperson this entire time. Now there is no doubt as to who the spokesman is. We know exactly who this person is now. We know, as we continue to read, that two of these three are angels. They will be referred to as such. So we know two of them are angels. But the spokesperson, this is Jesus pre-incarnate. If you recall, not too long ago, I mentioned the differences when we see the words an angel of the Lord versus the angel of the Lord. When we see the angel of the Lord, I believe, okay, and this is opinion, all right, means nothing, it's worthless, but it is my opinion that this is Jesus pre-incarnate, as well as this individual right here who's been the spokesperson. We know this is Jesus, all right, and here's the evidence that I'm going to provide for you. We know this is Jesus because as we read, the use of the word Lord by Abraham changes to refer to God. All right, it's that capitalized L with the lowercase capital O-R-D. Also notice the way he speaks, the spokesperson. Notice the way he speaks. He is not speaking as if he is like the representative of somebody. He's speaking as if he himself has the power and authority to make things happen. He's not acting like a state representative, all right, going to a different state on behalf of our governor, or an emissary going to a different country on behalf of ours. No, he's not speaking like that. He's speaking as if he is God himself. And that is how we can deduce that this is Jesus pre-incarnate. Now, yes, as we progress into the story, people are going to say, well, I thought no one could see God. Well, God can do anything he wants. God can show us in his raw form, to which he eventually does later on in the story of Exodus, when he comes down to the mountain of Sinai and great thunder and lightning and a fiery sky. That's more of his raw form. That's reserved for select few. But here, he is putting himself in human form. The Lord can do that. Okay? But what people cannot do is see him in his raw form. Within that cloud that hovered over Sinai was God. The cloud, the thunder, the lightning, and all that, that's what was exuding from him. But when you go into that story and read, God himself told Abraham, I cannot show you my face. I cannot do that, for you will surely die. So it does mention that Abraham was able to see his backside. He was able to see his backside, and with his mighty hand, he covered him from seeing anything else. So just in case if you're wondering, how is that possible? Because he's God, he can do what he wants. So, again, this one is speaking as if he has the power and authority. And we're going to notice the differences in the speech patterns from these angels when they start to speak as we progress in the story. Let's go through verses 20 and 21. So 20. Then the Lord said, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is so grievous that I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will know. So here in these verses, we are being assured about the Lord being thorough in his judgment. Now keep in mind, he literally does not have to send human form like angels to recon the area. He doesn't literally have to do that. This is for the sake of us, for our understanding, and for Abraham's visual, so he could see, wow, yes, we have heard things, but he's actually sending these people down to confirm it. He's showing us how thorough he is. Obviously, he doesn't need to, but for our sake, he is showing us, see, I don't just make a rash decision. I'm going to send this recon team, part of my military. I'm sending this recon team in there, and they're going to check it out and get back to me. Verses 22 through 33. All right, we're going to cover a big section here. The men turned away and went toward Sodom, talking about the two angels. But Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Then Abraham approached him and said, will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous in the city? Will you really sweep it away and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous people in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, treating the righteous and the wicked alike. Far be it from you. Will not the judge of all the earth do right? The Lord said, if I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Then Abraham spoke up again. Now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, though I am nothing but dust and ashes, what if the number of the righteous is 5 less than 50? Will you destroy the whole city for the lack of the 5 people? If I find 45 there, he said, I will not destroy it. Once again he spoke, speaking of Abraham. What if only 40 are found there? He said, for the sake of the 40, I will not do it. And he said, may the Lord not be angry, but let me speak. What if only 30 can be found there? The Lord answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Abraham said, now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, what if only 20 can be found there? He said, for the sake of the 20, I will not destroy it. Then he said, may the Lord not be angry, but let me speak just once more. What if only 10 can be found there? He answered, for the sake of the 10, I will not destroy it. When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home. So let's pause right there. So in the previous verses, we saw the thoroughness of God's judgment. He's going in there, sending that recon team in there to make sure that the report is accurate. And he does that to this day. He does not act on impulse. The Lord our God is not an emotionally driven God like so many of you are. He doesn't do that. Correction. Like so many of us are. Let's put it that way. He's not emotionally driven. He's not rash. He's not quick. He's not hot-tempered. He takes his time. But in these verses, he is assuring us of his mercy and his righteousness. Even for 10, he said he would spare the whole town. Now, also we see here, you probably got a little tired with the, but Lord. If you counted those, because I did, if you count those, Abraham pleaded 6 times on behalf of the righteous few in Sodom. Now, y'all know me. If you've been following around, you know I love the numbers. And you know when I spot the numbers, I got to find out what is it about this number? Why this many times? Why didn't he throw in 1 extra for 7? Because 7, the completion, holiness. Why not stop there at 7? But he did it. Before I go on, notice also 6 times. Okay, the Lord our God. Notice in all these verses, he never raised his voice. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't get short with Abraham. He was calm and extended us his love and kindness in his answers. So when you're praying, because the word of God, even in the New Testament, tells us, pray earnestly. Pray with expectation to receive. That is what the Lord wants us to do. He wants us to have those conversations. Think about it. For those of you who are mothers and fathers, how often your children go, are we really going to do that? Yeah, we're really going to do it. But are we really going to do that? Yeah, we're going to go. And think about all those times you're like, oh my God, if you don't stop asking, we're not going to go. Notice how God didn't do that. And yeah, I know. I just took a shot at all of us parents and the guilt that we all possess for getting short with our children. But again, unless you have a short wife, then it's already there. So, yeah, got a little bit of smart mouth going on back there. Still working on her calling me Lord. Anyways.
I do call you Lord, little L.
Yeah, that's right, little L. She called me Lord, little L. That's right. But this is just a wonderful example for us that not only is he showing us his mercy and his righteousness, he's showing his love and kindness All right. Being patient with us, despite us asking over and over and over again. Okay? This is all part of the relationship process that he's wanting to establish with all of us. All right, so I digress. Back to the 6. 6, if you recall, in the creation story, is when man was made. Man was made on the 6th day. In addition, as we will learn later on, that the 6th commandment is thou shalt not murder. Yes, I said that right. Thou shalt not murder. It's not kill. I love the King James Bible. I love the King's Old English, but they got that one wrong. All right? It's thou shalt not murder. There is a difference. To kill is justifiable in accordance to God's justice, and murder is unjustifiable according, again, to God's justice. Now, why do I bring up these two? 6 being the day that man was created, and 6 being thou shalt not murder. The Lord has sent out his recon team to confirm the reports, because the outcry against this place is so great. The sin is so disgusting. But again, he's not going to be quick to act. He's going to make sure. So you can believe that the Lord's justice and his righteousness is active to this very day. So often, we are met every single day with injustice. Think about us bikers. We're out on the road and someone cuts us off and we're like, ooh. Some of us start to pad those plastic knuckles that we got, and it's like, all right, I just got to move over here got to just move over here to his right side. All right, here we go. You shouldn't be doing that, by the way. I may or may not have a history of doing that. Who knows? Anyways, but in all those times we've been cut off. Chances are it wasn't done with intent. It was done out of stupidity. But we take it personally. We take it with offense. What we are writing leaves us way more vulnerable. So our likelihood of dying is significantly greater than that of somebody in a cage. And we take offense to this. And sometimes, it should be all the time, we don't get to exact our justice upon them. But just with these scriptures alone, my brothers and sisters, we could take comfort in knowing that God saw it. God saw it, and he is the righteous judge of all, and he will take care of them. This will happen. What we must do is be restrained. Discipline in the Lord to not act. Let him do it. And this is hard. Without a doubt, this is very, very difficult. My change in this state of mind did not happen overnight. Okay? I've told y'all before, I've ridden the short bus my entire life. All right? So it takes me a while to pick up on things. What was it I mentioned? 9 years together, and I'm just now picking up on my wife's scams. All right? 9 years. 9 years, and I'm picking up on her scams. All right? So again, short bus. So it's going to take time. The real hard part about all this, we were left without the sight of seeing the punishment. We're left without actually seeing justice being served. We have to bear faith in God to make it happen, even if we don't see it. And that's probably the most difficult part of leaving it to God, the righteous judge of all. Because let's face it, we want to see it. We want to see some form of justice take place. Sometimes, side mirrors fall off. And to us that is satisfactory. Justice right there. But no, my brothers and sisters, we need to refrain. We need to refrain and really change our heart posture and our states of mind on this. And give that to God. Give that could be a new level of trust for so many of you. To deliver to God, to be like, you know what I want to do. Jesus, take the handlebars. You know what I want to do, but I'm going to let you do it. Try it. Take that step. Take that step towards greater trust in what the Lord does for all of us. All right. Chapter 19. Chapter 19, verses 1 through 9. The two angels, here we have it, confirmed angels. The two angels arrive at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. If you all remember Lot, Abraham's nephew. When he saw them, talking about the angels, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. My lords, take note to the Lord there. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning. No, they answered. We will spend the night in the square. But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered into his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called out to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them." Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, "No, my friends, do not do this wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them what you like. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." "Get out of our way," they replied. "This fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them." They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. All right, so let's pause right there. Woo, it's getting hot. It's getting heavy. So, probably got a lot of questions like, what? Remember I told you, to us Westerners, this level of hospitality is considered extreme. So again, here we see the same practices of hospitality. And also notice that they ate another meal. You know, I'm pretty sure when the angels were done and they went back up to heaven, they're like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good for another, 1,000 years. You? Yeah. 2 whole meals. Yeah. I'm good for another 1,000 years. So, in these verses, we see the extreme ends of this level of hospitality. Now, I want to make something very clear. Yes, they are called, once they enter the protection under the roof, to give their lives to protect them. But this, I guess you could call it extra mile that Lot went through by offering his daughters, his virgin daughters, this is not something that's done. This was extra. This was, in this culture, taking it too far. So Lot was wrong for that part. But as we're going to learn a lot about Lot, he kind of operates in fear. And in fear, he made this horrible recommendation to offer his 2 virgin daughters to this crowd of very angry men with lots of sexual frustration built up. Okay? Also in your Bibles, yours may not say to have sex with them. It might say to know them or to have relations with them, depending on your translation. It all means the same. There's nothing hidden there about any deeper meaning. It's all referencing sex, okay? Men wanted to have sex with these men, hence to the name Sodom. It's where we get our word sodomy. All right? This was one of the many grievous wicked sins of this city, as well as Gomorrah. So I wanted to make that perfectly clear. The whole offering of his daughters, that was an extreme. That was not part of the tradition of hospitality. All right. Again, he did it out of fear. So, and he said again, here the offense. Also notice here the offense. The offense that was taken. When Lot said, "Please, my friends, do not do this wicked thing." Did you see how that crowd took offense to that? They said, "You're a foreigner in our land. Who are you to judge us?" Sound familiar? It's what's happening today. It's what's happening today, and it's going to continue to happen. It's going to get even harder and worse for those of us who dedicate our lives to following Christ. Let's face it, nobody likes to be corrected. Now more than ever, nobody likes to be corrected. And because of this cultural stigma of our time, many Christians will not bother to make the correction. Many Christians will not bother to speak up and say, "Hey, the word of the Lord says this is wrong." One of my favorite songs, the lyrics go, "No truth, no sacrifice. This world has grown cold, dead with compromise." And that is very true. If there is no truth, then there is no sacrifice. And when this happens, compromise just gets thrown everywhere. And then before you know it, you're left with nothing finite. Because if there's no truth, then nothing is finite. We're already seeing this just with genders. If there is no truth, there is nothing finite. That means everything is open to change. That means nothing is concrete. And when nothing is concrete, that is chaos in its ultimate form. These are boots. Ugh, you're disgusting. That's leather long footwear. Trust me, it's just a matter of time before something stupid like that comes around. But notice here the offense that they took. Friends, notice the language too. Kindness. Friends, please don't do this wicked thing. Now the Sodomites, Sodomians, I don't know. The people of Sodom, they took such an offense to this because for them, the thing that they were seeking to do was so normalized. It was so normalized. That's why they took such offense to it. Like, hold on. What, are you new here? Obviously, they knew he was new there. This is what we do. Don't get in the way of what we do. And let's face it, we see that today. You know, we make a correction to somebody and they take such a great offense because we as a society have allowed these things to become normalized. And when we make the correction, using the word of God or not, they will take offense to it. What was it? It wasn't even that long ago. It was 25 years ago. In my life experience, homosexuality was still highly frowned upon in the military. That was 25 years ago. Today, 25 years later, the military is willingly paying for sex changes. They are willingly forking up the bill for sex changes for troops. This happened in the course of 25 years. And it's going to pick up even faster. When the seed has been planted, when the evil seeds have been planted, it's only a matter of time before they take root. Think about our generation. I'm talking about millennials. But we were still raised with the yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. We were still raised, all right, many of us, with don't you talk back to your mother because you're going to get your butt whooped. All right, but today, that's not so much the case. I recall when I was in elementary school, I may or may not have gotten in trouble a little bit in school. But when I was in elementary school, and every time I got sent to the principal's office and had to face my mother, it was never, what did y'all do to my son? No, it was, boy, what did you do? Immediately, I was at fault. Because that's the way it was. The school wasn't at fault. The teacher wasn't at fault. Because it was me. I was the turd. But that's changed now. It's no longer, what did my child do? It's, what did you do to my child? 25 years. So much changes. And again, it's going to get worse. All right, I went on a bit of a tangent on that one. Let's continue on. What was that, 1 through 9? I think that was 1 through 9. 10 through 16. But the men inside, referring to the angels, the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so that they could not find the door. The two men said to Lot, "Do you have anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons or daughters, or anything else in the city, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, "Hurry, get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city." But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. Good one. With the angels, what did I say? 16, yeah. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished." When he hesitated, referring to Lot, the men grasped his hands and the hands of his wife and his 2 daughters, and led them safely out of the city. For the Lord was merciful to them. All right, so let's pause right there. So in these verses, we see that the angels themselves have power. They struck that crowd with blindness. This is a very important thing to take note of. Note, the angels, despite this very hostile situation, the angels too did not act with an emotionally driven actions. It was very strategic. It was, no, we know it's coming to y'all, so blindness. We're going to let God take care of the rest. But for right now, blindness. These are not the droids we're looking for. No? Oh, maybe. No, sorry. That was stupid. Anyways. But again, they didn't kill him. Also see here in verse 14. They say it is the Lord who will destroy the city. All right. Well, it is the Lord that ultimately destroys the city. But this is very important to take note of, because this confirms the differences between an angel of the Lord and the angel of the Lord. These angels are operating with very strict instructions and are limited to what they are allowed to do. Versus when we read passages about the angel of the Lord who speaks with authority, he shows us that he's not limited, that he's not there on strict, confined orders and limited in what he is and is not allowed to do. So I really wanted to point this out to y'all. Let's close this out. Verses 17 through 22. As soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, talking about the angels, "Flee for your lives. Don't look back. And don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away." But Lot said to them, "No, my lords, please. Your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness to me in sparing my life. But I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I will die. Look, there is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared." He said to him, "Very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you reach it." That is why the town was called Zoar, which just basically means small. Zoar literally means small. All right, so that's where we're stopping tonight. But very key instructions that the angels gave here: don't look back. All right, I'm sorry, that's not the last. No, we're going to cover the rest. Sorry, but don't look back. Very simple, very clear instructions. Run that way. Don't look back. I don't know about the rest of you, my brothers and sisters who are military, but I was infantry. So that's how we're spoken to. Bad guys, that way. Unsubscribe them from life. Okay. That's how we're talked to. And that's how the angels were talking. That way. Run. Don't look back. Very simple. And of course, we're going to continue to read and realize that it wasn't exactly followed. In fear, once again, we're seeing a lot of fear coming from Lot. In fear, Lot objects to going to the mountains, but goes to Zoar. Also notice here the angels say out loud, "We can't do anything until you're gone." The power of which was destroyed, like I said, ultimately the Lord destroyed them. That destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. The angels were but again, it shows their limitation. It shows they have full range. So they say, "We can't do anything until you're out of here. So you got to go, buddy." So I just wanted to point that out for you. We'll close out, with 23 through 26. By the time Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all those living in the cities, and also the vegetation in the land. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Again, very simple, very clear instructions, yet so complicated to follow. And this is what we see in the New Testament, in the covenant that's given to us, the church. When you really look at them, when you really look at what Jesus told us in the New Testament, it's actually easy on paper. Looking at what he wants us to do on paper, it's like, oh, I can do that. Yeah. Love, kind. Got it. Love the Lord your God and love your neighbor, and second is liken to your neighbor. I can do that. Very simple instructions, yet so hard to execute. So hard to execute. If y'all recall, when we covered the story, when Abraham rescued Lot, I likened it to John Wick going all rage mode when they killed his dog. When Abraham went all John Wick on those 5 kings, in that story, I told y'all to make a mental note of a significant landmark that was in this area. The tar pits. The tar pits are right next to Sodom and Gomorrah. So tar is a petroleum product. What happens when fire touches petroleum products? All right. So that landmark wasn't just an added detail into the story. It was there for a reason. And here we see the purpose of that detail. Fire rained down, and in combination with those petroleum products that were right next to Sodom and Gomorrah, the whole place was leveled. Nothing survived. And again, the consequence of being disobedient as Lot's wife was. There is something more to learn here than just disobeying the simple instructions. When we as Christians who have proclaimed Jesus as Lord and Lord of our lives, we have given ourselves to Him, we have been baptized, and we have chosen to follow Him. What we must never do is look back. This lesson applies to us, the church. Don't look back. Don't look back at the past. Don't look back at the old you. As it is written, the old is gone, the new is here. You are a new creation in Christ Jesus. Don't look back. And it's an unfortunate thing many people do. Many people look back. Many people go back. Looking's bad enough. Going back is worse. Don't go back. Don't go back. Don't look back. Continue in your way in accordance to your divine calling. This is very important, my brothers and sisters, for us to learn. Though we, the church, are not going to literally, unless you do something pretty significant, I guess, but none of us in the church are literally going to be turned into a pillar of salt, just like Lot's wife was. Because just as this is just written, He will accept us back. Hence why Jesus gave us the story about the prodigal son. Okay, we have that. Though we may stray away, we come back to Him. He's overwhelmed with joy that we have returned to Him. But the key thing is just to not look back at all. Don't look at your past. Don't take a second look at that. Okay? And don't let it drag you back in. It's hard, because so many of the people that knew us before will be like, bro, you used to like doing this. You like to, you used to hang out with us, and we would, be up all night and, chasing girls and all this other blah, blah, blah. And they're going to find it real hard to believe that you've changed. But it is through your life example in your walk with Christ that's going to be the proof. That's going to be the evidence. But if you look back and then you go back and forth, well, that transition is going to be a lot harder. And those friends of yours, they're going to be a little more harsher every single time. So once you've chosen to follow, don't look back. The rest of this story concludes with Abraham returning. And then on that day he came back and he looked at the land of Sodom and Gomorrah and saw dense smoke rising from the land. Smoke like it's coming from a furnace. And this story has a lot of spiritual meaning to us, the church, in terms of what some of us call the rapture. Because notice here, throughout all the pleas, Lord, if for the 50, the 45, the 30, the 10, so on and so forth, will you not spare this whole place? And he said, yeah, I will. I will spare them. This is an example. This story is an example for us who understand and see the rapture, who understand that doctrine. This is a proof text for that. As an example, the Lord is going to catch us away and remove us before the wrath of God is put on the rest of the earth. Eventually, well, I hope not, but eventually we'll get to Revelation. I say I hope not because I'm hoping, we're all raptured and out of here by then. But if not, when we get to Revelation, we'll dive deep into more of the chain of events that will happen. But we as the church are not subject to God's wrath. The sacrifice of Jesus Christ already took care of that for us. And this story with the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, with them extracting Lot, this is a proof text for us, an assurance that God's going to do the same for us. We as the church are not subject to wrath. He's going to catch us. We're going to meet him in the air. And then the wrath of God is going to be poured down, just like it was on Sodom and Gomorrah. So, brothers and sisters, again, I am so sorry for that late start. Had those technical difficulties. Thank you to all those who are not making fun of me about looking closely at my paper. I appreciate that. But I love all of y'all. Please take care. If y'all are going to be out, please be smart. Okay? Let us be smart, please. And because I definitely want to see all of you again. All right. So God bless. Stay safe. Keep the shine side up. I'll see y'all next time.
Okay.
All right. Good job, baby. Prettiest camera girl ever. You are so amazing that you held it for me. All right. Well, go potties. Don't be like your mother and forget. Yeah, I really wanted to cover the whole thing, but I just. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It'll. Will you be here next week or no? You're leaving.
I leave Thursday.
You leave Thursday.
Before Thursday, rest of the night over there in Huntsville, and then Fort Hood, and then into Brownstown.
Am I still alive? It's a blooper reel.
I don't, it's still live.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, but I don't know how to